Well, it depends on how you look at that question. I was involved as a boy. I joined in the mid-'60s, and so I go back a few years and attained Eagle Scout in the '70s, and then disappeared off the scouting reservation for a number of decades. I was reapproached by the organization during our Eagle reunions, and was asked if I would be interested in helping out. And here we are 3 years later, and I've been working the membership space for the last 3 years, and it's been a really good experience. My dad was a scout as well. My dad was a life scout back years ago, and it was, in those days, one of the programs that had very little competition. Today we have a much more difficult challenge of reaching the youth today because of so many different opportunities they have, but in those days there wasn't quite as many options, and so this was a great opportunity for me to both experience things I wouldn't normally experience with my family, but also spend time with the family and with my dad, who stayed active in the program as well. What's kept me involved the last 3 years is the opportunity to do some things that I think is more difficult for parents that have boys in the program. I happen to have a daughter, and my daughter's active in Girl Scouts and all that, but the reality is, in the Boy Scout side, I can help with activities that parents who want to be participating with their children can't get involved with. So I'm helping with things like our approaches of how we can reach out to new communities, how we can reach out starting new units, and that type of thing, which are things that are a little bit tougher when you're trying to do things with your son or in the program. The power of being involved in scouting is the opportunity to really change the future, one step at a time. So I'm a firm believer that what we're doing is we're creating a legacy for the next generation and the generation beyond that. And the messages that we have are timeless. I mean, you go back to the 1910 time frame, nothing we're talking about today is any more dated than the basic core principles of what I would call our society. And so I've found this to be an extremely powerful thing in two levels. One, in changing society, or perhaps setting up society, but then the other side is reinvesting in yourself, revisiting those values and making sure you're living up to those criteria. Yeah, there is. It's interesting. Having been away for so long, you get back involved and you replay your childhood very, very quickly. So the same excitement you had that first time you went camping, that first time you went out and jumped in a 30-degree lake, those kinds of opportunities are things that all of a sudden come rushing back. And so it's been a great opportunity to enjoy the youthful magic while not quite youthful anymore. The most humorous part of this is indeed the fact that you watch history repeat itself. So I can remember the events of pitching a tent and putting a tent up, and then the rain coming down. And it seemed like in the years I was in scouting, we must have had the world's longest consistent rainy period, because every time we went camping, we would always end up with rain on a weekend. And we were doing camping in those days with the old cotton drill tents that were from the Korean War. And so those are really interesting because they absorb water like a sponge, and then they take about 6 weeks to dry. And so I think through most of my childhood, we had a tent hanging in our garage. We never put our car in the garage because there was always a wall tent hanging in the garage drying. And so the kids today have nylon. It's a little bit quicker, but the rain thing on scout camp out seems to be a universal norm. You know, I'm filled with several emotions. I'm filled with an emotion of humility, in the sense that I am certainly not the most qualified person to receive this. I've worked with so many people in this district that are hardworking, are dedicated professionals, and to be recognized this way is a little disconcerting, because I feel there are so many people here that probably deserve it more than I. The other is one of appreciation. I appreciate being nominated first by my peers and then being judged to be worthy of such an honor. So it's several emotions all at once. My advice to others at this stage of the game is never lose your connections with scouting. Be an active participant. There's always an opportunity for you to contribute, regardless of how much time you have or how little time you have. You're valuable, and your input is definitely needed.